guys, how you doing? It's Henry at Mowers and Blowers. I'm coming to you this morning from, this afternoon from my car. My mom, as you saw, I visited her last week and she needed to get her taxes in order. She's 77, 78 years old and she lives by herself. My dad passed away about 6 years ago, and she's very independent, you know. But it's tax time. You guys, if you didn't remember, tax time was April 15th, but because of COVID, it was delayed a couple of months to July 15th. So we're a few days away from the deadline to submit your income tax returns, and my mom finally did it with my copy of TurboTax. And because she never uses her computer for other than TurboTax, her printer ink dried up, so her printer didn't work. So last week I went over to get the file, the finished file, to bring it home to print the 60 or so pages that I need to print, and I'm bringing her the copies today. So I'm taking a quick drive over to Queens again just to drop off her taxes so that she can go to the post office tomorrow and mail them out. We're finally getting some rain today. It's raining. There's a tropical storm headed towards the East Coast, and we're finally getting some much needed rain. We're supposed to get wind gusts about 40 miles an hour, and that's always exciting. I like a good storm, you know. Anyhow, so as you guys saw from yesterday's episode, I picked up another Kohler Courage engine from my friend Larry and Bobby over in Smithtown. So today I'm going to be attempting to put together one good Kohler Courage engine from 3. If I'm successful, I will attempt to put together a second Kohler engine with the parts to see if we have enough parts. So far I haven't spent any money on it, right? I know that I thought that Henry's getting ready to spend some money, but so far so good. I think at the very least I might need to go and buy another push rod, because right now I have 2 from the one I got from Larry, and I got the 1 remaining one I got from Nick from Medford. So no matter what, if I'm going to build a second engine, I'm going to need another push rod, minimum. But I've got like 2 connecting rods. I've got a good synchro balancer. I've got like 3 cams that I know are good, right? And 1 head that's questionable whether or not it's good or not. I think the valve seal might be bad on it, so I might have to spend money to get another valve seal. I'm not 100% sure, but we'll find out later when I get back home. So the challenge today is this. While I have rebuilt about 10 other engines before, I have never rebuilt a Kohler Courage before. I did at one time take apart a Kohler engine, right, Kohler Courage, but it was only to replace the valve gasket. As you know, the SUMP gasket for the Kohler Courage is always hinky, you know, and Kohler actually recommends that you use RTV because they no longer make a gasket, you know, or is that the valve cover? I forget, but either way, they actually recommend that you use RTV, and at that time I also used RTV to put that together, and it worked just fine. So while I'm pretty confident about putting together single overhead valve Briggs engines, right, the Kohler Courage engine is different, much different, because it has a twin cam system, right? When I was preliminarily looking over it for the past few days, right, the twin cams have a marking on it. They have 2 timing marks on each cam. One says exhaust, and one says intake. I'm not sure which one goes in what direction, you know, to line up with the timing marks. But with the second Kohler Courage engine that I have, that hasn't been broken, the sump cover hasn't been taken off yet, right? We know that probably the connecting rod is busted on that one, and everything else should be fine, right? I'd like to first take that sump cover off and really review and see how the 2 cams are placed in there with the timing marks. So I want to take a lot of pictures as I've taken the sump cover off, so I'll know exactly how to put it in, you know, because I'm not really 100% sure, you know. So I think the first thing I have to do is take that engine, get it to top dead center on the compression stroke, right? remove the sump cover, take a lot of pictures on where the timing marks are exactly. So that way I know that when I put one engine together, I'll know exactly which timing marks go where on which side, you know. So I just want to be sure that way. The Kohler Courage engines have the tappets that are not your conventional tappets. They're not like a steel round thing with a post, right? It doesn't look like that. They look like little hangers that are sideways, laterally, right? And the one that I want to rebuild, the one that I got from Nick from Medford, right? The only thing that was busted on that, it has the connecting rods attached. Everything is attached with the exception of the head, and also one of those tappets went bad because it had a strange head with the valve seal that caused the push rod to break, which is why I need another push rod. So I want to get the tappets right, move one tappet from one and put it on the one that's the most complete. I still need to put on some brackets and the starter motor and throttle linkages and all that other stuff, but we'll take everything one step at a time. So that's my plan today. Hopefully we'll be able to get one working engine out of the 3 Kohler Courages that I got. Thanks again to Larry and Bobby for the extra engine. Thank you to Nick for all that stuff. And I'll be headed home after I drop off these documents to my mom, and we'll get started on that rebuild. So I'm done at my mom's house, on my way home now. As you can see, the rain continues and it has signs that say tropical storm warning today. I can't wait! So I'm back home again, and as you can see, the rain has picked up a little bit. It's just a matter of time before we get the downpours. They also say lightning and thunderstorms as well. Let me show you what's going on over here. Got a lot of stuff going on. That bin is full of stuff that I got from Larry and Bobby. That one's a single overhead valve engine. This is the Nick from Medford engine. And that one's the other Kohler. So I've got 3 Kohler Courage engines. This is the one that we're going to be working on. Why I choose this one? Because this is the most complete. This is a dual cam. And as you can see from the cam, you got a timing mark over here that says intake. You got another timing mark over here that says exhaust. You flip it over. In 21. And it's connected onto this rod here that is attached to the oil cylinder. Not the oil cylinder, the oil pump. This one's the other one. It looks the same. Exhaust. Intake. This says exhaust 22, see? So, I don't know what all that means. Oh, actually, if you look at this one here, it's actually a little scuffed. Maybe I can find another one that's better. And this one is not attached to the oil pump. This one actually is the rod you can take out. And obviously, look, you got this short little pin in here, and you got a longer pin over here. I'm not even 100% sure if it goes in this way or that way. I think they both fit. Let's see. Oh, no, it doesn't. So you can only put it in one way, I guess. Yep. That's right. It can only go in one way. So I wonder, how is that? Is this tapered? Is this going to be just a smidgen smaller than this side? That's amazing. Let me see. No, It's the same size. You can fit them both in there, but I'll have to figure out which way it goes. So that's that. Maybe I can get a better cam out of that one over there. On the bottom there, that is the sump cover. As you guys know from the Kohler Courages, or if you don't know, I'm going to tell you right now, the Kohler Courage is the only engine that I know of with my experience, which, again, I'm telling you, I'm not a mechanic, I'm just a flipper. So the experience that I've had in the past couple of years on engines, that the Kohler Courage is the only one that the sump cover is on the top. The reason why the Kohler Courages fail so much is because the sump bolts, they jar loose, okay, from the design, and then while the engine's running, the sump bolts pop out, hit the flywheel while it's spinning, right, and blows it. That's one of the reasons. They also have gasket issues, the valve cover issues with the gaskets, right? I believe it has a double cover. Inside there's like a sponge or something like that. I don't know. There's an issue with the valve covers as well. Also, the carburetors leak. So, I mean, this engine is not a very reliable engine at all. I'm giving you a top view look at what it looks like in here. So when the cams are out, like they say in Canada, as you can see over here, that's the oil pump. It's only on the intake side. Here is the governor shaft. The synchro balancer's over here. And you can take this rod out and move it. Connecting rod is attached and it rolls freely, pretty easily, you know, with my hands. So we know that this block is good, right? What is this? I feel like a rubber thing right here. Oh, it's like a hose. It's like a rubber hose on the bottom over here. And that has to do with the oil pump, I believe. You know, routing the oil to certain places. I've decided to use this engine block because the connecting rod is attached. The balancer is good, right? And as you can see here, here are the tappets I was talking about. So they're not your conventional looking tappets, not like the Briggs single overhead valve ones. It's just like a lever here, okay? As you can see, this one here is gone. And the reason why it's gone is because there was something bad with the head, and it caused the arms, not the arms, the push rods to break. One of them broke on this side. The force bent the lever really bad. So I'm going to take one of the other good levers and put them in here, figure out how the cams go in like that, and we'll be able to put this one together. This is the engine block that I got from Larry and Bobby. The reason why I cannot use this one, even though it has a good head, I believe, with the push rods. As you can see from it, here are the tappets. They're intact and in place with the push rod in there, right? Tappet. The connecting rod is actually good, and it has good compression because I push it in, push it out. I can't use this block because if you look right there, I know you can't see it, so I'm going to take this flashlight. I'm going to put it underneath and you tell me what you see. That's right. There's a big hole on the bottom of the engine. So this engine block is Dunsky! As you can see, the what blew here, right? Well, you can't see, but I'll show you. What blew here is actually the synchro balancer. That's what blew. And it's not just the synchro balancer, it's the links to the synchro balancer. As you can tell by the journal, it's very good. So this crankshaft is actually salvageable. It's a good crankshaft, okay? So here's the synchro balancer, right? What happened was This link looks good, right? But this link is the one that busted. So this was the cause of this engine blowing, was the synchro balancer links breaking, okay? Usually when this one breaks, this one's bent. So you basically can't even really use this one. Unless you really measured and made sure that this one wasn't bent, you know? But it's still a good weight, you know? So that's why we can't use this engine, but we could still salvage the parts. The third engine we have here, I also got from Nick from Medford. It's missing the head. I believe the connecting rod is blown. And that's the only thing wrong with it, is that it's a blown connecting rod. Maybe. We don't know. It could be another synchro balancer issue. But what I'm going to do is, I'm going to try to get the sump cover off. Well, first you're going to have to remove this top thing, the blower fan, loosen the nut on top of the flywheel, take the flywheel off, take off the sump bolts to these, right? And, I don't know, do I have to remove this bracket? Maybe I don't. Take the sump cover off, and so we can see what is inside and what is blown, whether it be the connecting rod or it could be the synchro balancer links as well, so we can see what parts we can salvage. At the same time, I'm going to remove that cover very carefully, because once I remove it, I want to see exactly how the twin cams go in, you know, which one is on the left side, which is on the right side, and so I can get a good judge of how to put that one together. So that's what we're going to do. That's the block we're going to use, because everything is attached. All I need is the head and replace the cams in there with the tappet. And that's it. I can put that together and hopefully it'll run, you know? But I want to see what's how to do it, though, by taking that one apart. Got you guys placed right here with me. I haven't moved the engine, still on those tires. And I'm going to first remove the magneto, 5/16. This is so it doesn't get in the way of my removing the flywheel. This cover just snaps off. Look at that small bolt that holds the flywheel on. Super small. Looks like 1/2 inch. Even though most of the stuff on, nope, 9/16. Nope. Because Kohler uses millimeters, I have to find the right one. I'm not sure. It's about 9/16, so I don't know what that translates to. So it's a 15 millimeter. I'm going to use my impact to take it off. If this doesn't work on my 3/8 impact, I'm going to have to whip out the 1/2 inch electric one. Let's see. Yep, now I'm going to have to find a 15 millimeter. Got my 1/2 inch impact here from Harbor Freight with the correct adapter on a 15 millimeter. Let's see if we can get the bolt off now. Never fails. Bolt off, blower fan. This part is going to be tricky. I'm going to have to take the flywheel off. It's always difficult. I'm going to put the bolt back into the crankshaft. Some threads, 5 or 6. Got a crowbar here, see? I'm going to put it where one of the bolts are over here, where it's the strongest. And you could either push down to pry up, or lift, and I guess put your foot here to push down. It'll be kind of difficult, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't want to shove it all the way in there because you're gonna hurt the stator. Got the sledgehammer, see? I'm gonna push down on my feet, lift up on the bar, and whack it once. Some people have tried doing this, but they're not really putting the pulling part on this on this flywheel. See, so you got to do it at the same time. Shoot. All right, this may not work. I don't feel very good leverage.
Holy shit!
One shot, one kill. Take the bolt back off. Or like they say in New York, off. And here we go. We're going to take the flywheel right off. Don't forget not to lose the key in the keyway. All right? So there we go. Check it out. So the flywheel's off, no problem. Whoa, there goes the key right over there. What happened to it? Ah, there it is right here. See the key? It's in good shape over here, right? Remember not to lose that. You're going to need it later. So there's the flywheel. There's the stator. We got it off. What we're going to do now is going to remove the stator. You know why? Because the stator is connected to the wiring harness really strong, really tight over there. So I just want to take the stator off, otherwise you can't get the cover off, see? Look at all this spitz that was coming from the flywheel. Pretty dirty, you know? But other than that, stator looks pretty good. Two 15/16 holding the stator down to the engine. There's the stator. I'm just going to pull it to the side here and let it hang. Now I'm going to have to figure out, now you see, look, this part here is the side cover to one of the shrouds. So we're going to be able to figure out exactly which engine this is. And I'll tell you why. Because as you can see from this shroud here, right, the Courage 18, this is the SV-540S. This has a broken shroud that connects to that. So we know this engine is the 540S. Yeah, some good investigative work. I need to find to see what kind of bolts, what size sockets take off the sump cover bolts. It's 10mm. Use my DeWalt Impact. You see how easy it is to come out? They're not supposed to be that easy to come out. You're supposed to Loctite these in there. Too easy. And you wonder why it comes off so easily. Over time, the vibration of the engine, it's a joke. Ew. I'm missing just one. I have to find a place to put these bolts. I'm going to remove this cover, at least part of it. I don't know why the guy had to rip off the cover. It just comes off really easily. People haste, I'm telling you, haste. And the final bolt, did I get that off? There's one right next to the dipstick. Dipstick? Cletus, you dipstick. Okay, looks like all the bolts are off the sump cover. Looks like this this bracket is attached to it. I might have to remove the bracket. The bracket is definitely attached to the cover. So now I gotta find some torque wrenches to get that off. These torque screws were actually on here tighter than the sump bolts were, you know? Unbelievable. So I might have to take this entire bracket off because I don't know if it clears. Oh, it does. Okay. You know what? That was pretty easy to install the bracket. Just hangs like that. Okay, let's see if we can just bang this a little bit. Tap it with a hammer. Got a hammer. Just going to tap it a little. It's coming. It's moving. Breaking the gasket seal. And you're not whacking it like with all your, you know, power. Just lightly tapping it so we can just break the seal for the gasket. The gasket. Should I remove the starter? Because that looks like it might be in the way. It should just pull right off along with it, but it doesn't seem to be. I'm going to remove the starter just to rule it out. It's only two nuts. You're a nut. And there's the starter, just like that. Stator is connected to the voltage regulator over here. See, you can see it's moving. It just doesn't want to come loose. Oh, there we go. Here it is. I'm going to remove this carefully. Oh, son of a gun. There we go. I'm just going to let this cover hang. Just like that. Can you guys see? All right. Let's take a good look at this. As you can see, look at that. This part here. See this metal on this part here? This is from the sump cover. The sump cover is done ski. So you know what? Can't use the sump cover. So I'm gonna disconnect this voltage regulator, or at least the wires, the module going into it, the connector. Actually, I'm just gonna remove the whole thing because it's in the way. And I don't want this sump cover to just hang there all day, so 5/16 to get the voltage regulator off, which is attached to the stator and the sump cover. So now it's not hanging any longer. All right, so we know this sump cover is done because this went along with it. I'm glad we took that apart because you see, I was gonna put this on even without this washer because I didn't know it had a washer. You know, and now looking at it, you could see on the bottom of this sump cover. Let's take a look here. Here's the governor. Governor looks good. So here's where that thing broke right there. This part here is good, and it does not have a washer. Okay? So we know that there's only a washer on the right hand cam. Did I just spin that? See, so if I spun that, right? I'm gonna look at this here now. I'm gonna see that the timing marks, right? I'm trying to look here. So the exhaust is here. That exhaust is there. Timing marks are here and here. It doesn't look like it matches up at all, unless it moved. That would be bad if it moved, you know. But being that this is so close over here, the intake is on the way all the way on the other side. I counted the teeth: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What did it make here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. No, didn't make it there. Did it make it here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's it. Okay. So this timing mark here. This timing mark here would go to the exhaust. Right here. I'm a little confused. Alright, look. So, we know both exhaust was on this side. Both intake is over there. So if I had it at top dead center, I'd have to move it. I'm going to try to move it. So that's not going to help. You know why? Because I just tried turning this, right? And it's off no matter what. It's not... this thing moved before I could take a good look at what it's supposed to be, see? So I couldn't tell you exactly where it is. Actually, wait a minute. That looks like it's matched up pretty well. Alright. Okay, so this intake was matched up to that. So would I assume that the exhaust would be matched up to this? You know what? I can't go by this. I'm gonna have to go and watch some videos because or look online to see what the story is on how to place this in here. I can't get it wrong, you know what I mean? But let's remove this now and see the condition of this. Okay, we know that's Dunsky. Remember, the cam on the right, as you're on the tractor looking forward, has the washer, okay? The cam on the right has a washer. The other one doesn't. Oh, look. Here's the compression release. See? And okay, so we know that. The one with the compression release has the washer. Oh, look at that. Look at that. So guess what? This block is Dunsky. So the cover's Dunsky, this block is Dunsky. Oh, guess what? So we don't have another block then. We've got two blocks that are blown. Two Kohler Courage blocks are blown. This rod is bent. This came right out of the block. So but guess what? We definitely cannot make two engines because I have two blown blocks. Okay. This cam looks a lot more beefier than the other one. It doesn't look the same. See that? This looks beefier than the other one. Where's the other one? Hey, look at that. This is the other one. This cam's way beefier. And this one doesn't have the compression release. How about that? How about them apples? Yeah, you learn something every day. Look at that. It's interesting. I better not mix all this stuff up, huh? And this one's beefy too. Look at that. Very beefy. I'll have to figure out why. Why this is beefier. Yeah, I'm not going to mix them up. I'm just going to put them back together. And it is definitely a blown connecting rod. You can see it right here. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna push it out. There it is. I want to make sure you guys can see this. Should I take it out? Well, the engine block is Dunsky no matter what, so why keep it in there, right? Well, why push it out too? Yeah, you know what? I'm not gonna take it out because if I take it out, I won't be able to put it back in again if I have to put it back in. Which I'm not gonna put it back in because the engine block is blown. But I will need this, right? I'll need this tappet to put onto that good block. Looks like it has a decent synchro, but the connecting rod is definitely Dunsky. And I can feel the journal on the crankshaft, and that's badly damaged. Synchro balancer looks okay. The links are still good, so looks like we can only build one engine today for sure. And I'll have to go and research how the cams go in, okay? Because that's very important. So I'm back. I just spent some time to look over a few videos on YouTube. One of the better ones was the Taro video. All right, so look, I gotta tell you something. So look, this is, I don't want to get it confused, okay? So this is the 18 horsepower one, right? And this one has the compression release with the washer here, with the big thick cam, right? And I found out that with the timing marks, right? On the right-hand side, if you're looking forward, right, the right-hand side, the timing marks have to be matched up to the exhaust on this one, right? Just like that. And on the left cam, the timing mark is supposed to be lined up to the intake. So that's correct right here. Exhaust to this timing mark, intake on this timing mark. That's how it's supposed to go. So that's that. Now my decision is whether or not I should use the cam for this 18 on my 19 engine, right? This is the thick cam one, right? The one over here, this is the Larry engine. The Larry engine's a 19 also. Okay, so the 18 has the thick one. This 19 one here does not have the thick cams. And it doesn't have the compression release. Alright? The engine that I'm rebuilding is also a 19. And the cams that came out of there has the compression release. See? With the big cams. Alright? So I'm thinking I should, since this is a 19, right? I should use the 19 cams for that. So I'm going to use the one with the compression release and also the bigger, thicker cams, right? Here's another thing that I didn't know without watching Terrell's video, is that when you take this out, right? Let me get you closer. So here's the top view of the only engine block we have that's good. Or so I think it's good. So I was looking at it very carefully just to make sure I didn't have any crap in there, you know? I'm going to shine a light there. I know you probably can't see it, but it almost looks like there's superficial cracks in there. You know what I'm saying? Cracks? You see that? I'm trying to get my finger there. Like right there. See that dark line there? There's a bunch of them on the bottom, all right? And they look like cracks. Like the engine block is cracked. And then I flipped it on its side to take a look, and there are no cracks on the outside. So, I mean, what can I do? You know what I mean? All I can do is just try. So over here, on the right side, goes this rod. You got the T-pin on the top here that's longer than the one on the bottom, right? And you're supposed to just shove it in like that. Well, after I saw Terrell's video, I saw that mine didn't have this thing, right? So I went and looked in that pile of stuff, right? And I found that thing. So I was about to put this together without putting this thing on. So I'm going to put this thing on. I don't know what it's called, obviously. But I'm going to put it on. The thing. I got no choice, really. I mean, the cracks and stuff, I mean, it may or may not cause anything. I'm not sure because I don't see any cracks on the bottom. I only see some superficial cracks on the inside. I don't know if that's just structural stuff or how it's molded or something like that. But inside is clean, had good oil in it. Everything that I've looked in here is good so far. And I was mistaken. It's not the SUMP gasket that you can put RTV on it, right? Terrell actually bought a gasket for this. So being that I don't know if this engine's going to run right because of the superficial cracks and everything, and this gasket is not in terrible shape at all, right? Even on the other side, the sump cover, it's not in bad shape at all. I'm just going to put a layer of RTV coating, especially around the areas that it's missing here, right? But the rest of it, just a light coating all around it. And I'm just going to put it on and just tighten it down as hard as I can, and I'm sure it'll be fine because that's exactly what I did to the other Courage engine that I did before. I didn't even have a gasket. I just put RTV on it and it worked fine. As a matter of fact, that's the engine that was on a Husqvarna 21K46 that I sold my friend Joe Cardozo, who shipped that tractor to Portugal, and it's still running today with no problems. And this was a couple of years ago. So I'm just going to do that. So you know what? I'm just going to put this together, man, and just see what happens. You know, what can I do, you know? I actually have a good head gasket. The head gasket came off, well, I have two actually, and they both seem good. So I'm going to get the head. I'm going to pull the head off of Larry's, and then we'll put the head on first, and then we'll put the cams in, and we'll put this whole thing together and see if it runs. All right, so here we go. We're going to take the head. This is the best condition head that I know of, because the other head that I have was the cause of the problems from that engine. You know, with the valve seal and the rods breaking. This one is not that problem. So I'm going to take this head, which is known to be good. It's 10 millimeter. It's got some kind of a extra bracket on this side here. I don't remember to put that on. See this? Oh, okay, so it's attached to the cover. Okay, so it's got like the breather hose is attached to it too, and the gasket comes right off easily. It looks okay. So what I was talking about before was two covers. In here it's got like some kind of a sponge thing, and it causes leaks over here, see? But it actually looks okay. The other one that I had was in worse shape. I'm not going to prep this as much as I want to, because I don't even know if it's going to work, because I've got like a compromised, seems like I have a compromised engine block, you know. I'm taking the valve cover off only because I need to adjust the valves later anyway, and I want to check out the condition of the guides. Man, look at all that play here. Oops. So that's one of them. So, let's see here. I didn't have to take the valve cover off to gain access to this, so I might just slip it back on again. This goes like that. That goes like that. Yeah. Alright, so look. 1, 2, 3, 6. It's like 6 bolts to hold the head on. I'm going to leave that there so I know what side. I think they're both exactly the same. So it's 1/2-inch bolts. I've got an extension on here. Don't break that gasket, Henry. Damn, that one's difficult to get off. Man, I might have to get the big impact. Yep. Gonna have to get the big impact out. Got the big impact out. There we go. Took out 6, and that's all I could see. Unless this bracket is blocking. I don't think so. Should I tap it? Where's that? Should I just tap it a little here? There we go. Yep. There we go. Looks like it's a good shape. Valves look clean. So I have to clean this surface because it's got gasket gasket residue on there. I'm gonna grind that down a little bit. Hey guys, so I wanted to tell you that I just went to the church and sold that Stihl leaf blower that I got from Larry. And sold it for 85 bucks. Scores! So I had to take a detour. I wanted to show you something else. So the two cams that I was going to use, these were, I guess these were off this engine here. Maybe not. But anyway, it's the one with the big cams. It's melted and grinded all down. So this was no good. Can't use that. Same goes for the other side. Shredded, grinded down, and melted. You know, right there. So these two cams are done-ski! Luckily, I had the two that came out of that 18. That's what doesn't really make too much sense, is because the 18 one had the big cams. This 19 one had the smaller cams. The other 19 one I got from Larry had the bigger cams. So while it's 19, I put the bigger cams in here with the compression release and the washer, see? And I put some assembly lube from my friends over at Lucas Sport Products. It's all very sticky lube, you know what I mean? Compression release. It was a pain to put this on, to match up the little T-pins that go right into that little washer on the back with that accommodates the T-pins, and then to have it both seated inside the T-pins with the grooves of the back of the camshaft and the washer, and to have the exhaust dots match up. Why, I mean, you had to have octopus hands to get in there to fit everything in there. So it was a good thing I had the assembly lube, because it was so sticky. The washer just stuck onto the part where I needed it and slowly slipped it down there, right? Turned this until it matched the timing dots, right? Same goes for this one over here, except this one was harder because the shaft does not come out of the oil pump. So I had to kind of just fit it in there and know that it fits, because I had to turn this thing and I could tell that the T-pins are in the grooves, you know? This is why the Kohler Courages are such sucky engines. A, it's a plastic cam. B, look at the play. It's ridiculous on the oil pump play. This play is okay, but this play is no good. But I think it has something to do with the fact that I just put the rods in, right? And of course you have to get a flashlight to go on the side to make sure that your rod is touching the tappet, you know? Guides messed up too. Just a sucky engine, you know what I mean? I mean, no wonder it blows off so often. So I'm just gonna, I haven't put this rocker arm on here yet, and it's under pressure, so I'm just gonna try to push in the spring with my hands. Ooh! I have good luck with that. Strong fingers, you know? You know why I have strong fingers, right? Anyway, so I'm gonna have to adjust these valves when I get around to it. I don't think we're gonna be able to start this thing up today because it's just too much to mount and it's already getting dark. And I've done quite a bit already. I know you guys want to see it run, right? So do I, but you can't rush reassembling an engine. You just can't rush it, you know? So I think my next step is I put the head on. I got a good gasket. I put the gasket on. I cleaned up the heads, as you saw from time lapse, right? We got the push rods in here underneath the rocker arms. Got the cams in. I'm pretty confident that it's in here right. Using assembly lube. There's no foreign objects in there. I looked. It has clean oil in there. And remember, this engine, the connecting rod and the synchro balancer did not break. Nothing broke on this. except for the push rod. That was the only issue wrong with this, and the exhaust side tappet. That was the only thing wrong with it. So I took 2 tappets from that engine, 2 perfectly good ones that accommodate the big cams, right? The tappets are different. From the small cams, they're smaller tappets. The big cam, they're bigger tappets. So I swapped the 2 bigger tappets to put on here, just to match the bigger cam, right? We've got the timing marks aligned as I saw in the video. The intake is on the left, the exhaust is on the right. I'll reconfirm that later. And head bolts are tightened down. Now I'm going to take a thin coat of RTV all around this existing gasket that's just a little bit damaged over here, right? But honestly, this Kohler Courage engine, I'm just giving it a whirl. You know what I mean? I don't have too much confidence this will work because, like I said, the block looks kind of has superficial cracks in it, you know? So, not too confident that this will work, but hey, it's the only block I got. I can only use this block, right? So I'm gonna put you on time lapse again because it takes a while for me to put the RTV silicone on there and try to get the sump cover on there that it matches and coincides with this shaft, and this synchro balancer shaft over here. And this right there. So, wish me luck. I've been busy. I was talking to Larry for a while, and of course, that's another half hour gone out of my day. It was raining pretty hard before. I managed to get the cover on really well. The reason why it didn't go in all the way was because the governor shaft was upside down. So I had to flip it upside down, and you couldn't flip it without taking it back off again because the oil filter was in the way. So now it's up right side up because this was pointed down before. Or like they say in Canada, down. And so I got the cover back on here, right? And then I looked at the stator, and the stator was like all rusted up over here, you know? So I wanted to change the stator to a better one. This is a better one, right? But the thing about Kohlers is that, well, Kohler Courage's, is that the stator comes down into the voltage regulator, where you actually got to remove the two pins, the two wires out of the module, right? You have to stick a really small screwdriver in there and depress the thing to get the two wires out of the module. A pain in the ass, man, let me tell you. So then I did that and got the wiring harness back on here because you have to thread it through the little tiny hole, and if you don't take it out of the module, it's not going to come out, you know? So you got to take the wire out of the module, put it through this slit, put it back on the module again, put the module on the voltage regulator again, and then I got it connected to the magneto. I don't know how the guy got the... Wait, did I take this off? No, I didn't take it off. I don't know how he got the flywheel off without taking the magneto off, but either way. So I was looking for my Loctite, because what I was telling you about the Kohler Courage's is that you gotta Loctite the sump bolts on here. Otherwise, they're just gonna eventually come out, you know? Come out. So I was looking for my Loctite. I couldn't find my Loctite. I turned my toolbox inside out, and not only did I find a bunch of other tools that I never knew I had, I found the Loctite. So you know what Loctite this is? This is not actually Loctite. This is made by Permatex. This is actually the red thread locker. Once I get these sump bolts in here with the red Loctite, it'll never come out again, ever. So either this engine works or it doesn't work. I won't be able to take it apart again if it doesn't work. But I've invested enough time and resources, well, not so much resources, but my time, you know, with Hank going to get the parts and all, right? I've invested enough time on a Courage. I'm never going to do... I will never do this again. I will never fix another Courage again. Of course, never say never, because if I have enough parts to make an engine, and I don't have any engines, I probably will. So anyway, I'm gonna put red Loctite on each of these sump bolts and torque them down as hard as I can without breaking them. So as you guys have seen, I've been a busy bee, and honestly, I don't know enough about this Kohler Courage for me to just start putting stuff together. I found out that the throttle plate here seemed very loose, right? And so here's a throttle plate that goes in between the engine block as well as the carburetor. And somebody had siliconed this together, see? And it's cracked. And also you need a gasket between here and the engine block. And then another gasket when you put the carburetor onto it. So I'm missing, well, first of all, this is cracked, right? So I found another one that was also slightly cracked, but not as bad as this one. This one's so cracked that you can take this this stud out, which you can't. You're not supposed to. So this goes in like that. I mean, I guess I could fix it, but that one's in better shape. But there's a big, this wide mouth is coming out of the engine block. Okay? And then you need a gasket that puts this onto the engine block. Then the carburetor goes here. Then the air cleaner base goes on top of that. Then you put the nuts in, right? But when I tried to put the air cleaner base on there, my choke lever, my choke linkage got in the way of it. So I don't think I have the choke lever on there right. I need to go watch some videos. But as you saw, I put the sump cover on, and I really tightened them down with, and I put red Loctite on them too, right? And then I put the flywheel on, that other flywheel over there, I was about to put that on, and guess what? I looked underneath, it's missing 2 magnets. So fortunately for me, I had another flywheel. So I put that flywheel on, it was filled with dirt, I had to get the dirt out. Put the flywheel on, put the keyway in the, put the key in the keyway, put the blower fan on, put the washer and the crankshaft bolt on there. So I've got the flywheel on there, the magneto's where it was. Ooh, good compression, look at that, it's spinning the engine around. So this moves freely, which is good, and it seems like it's pretty close to that magnet, you know, without rubbing, so I think that's okay. So I've got the magnet on here, the magneto. Got the throttle bracket. I don't think I have the linkages on right. I've got another throttle plate in here between the carburetor and the thing, but I don't think it's very good. I put the starter on. I swapped out the stator with another wiring harness from another one. Put the valve cover on just for now until I could see if it starts, and then if I see it starts, then we could adjust the valves. But you know, I wanted to keep it on there so that Earl won't drip out. But I've had just about enough of this, and I'm not close. Well, I guess I'm close, but I'm not that close. I gotta figure out the throttle linkages. Gotta put the air cleaner base on. And I gotta figure out the throttle linkages for sure, because there's just something wrong with that over there. I just don't know enough about the Courages to know the throttle linkages perfectly, so I have to go to watch some videos. And then I'm gonna have to stop today. That's it. I've had enough. I've had enough. I can't stand no more. But that's a bunch of it today. You know, assembly of a Kohler Courage engine. Really taking parts from 2 other ones, you know. The good parts, of course. So I don't really have high confidence this will work because there's some superficial cracks on the inside, even though there's no cracks on the outside. And then, of course, I put RTV silicone, and I put red Loctite on these threads, and I really turned them down. I mean, and I went around several times, you know, with the impact, and it just looked like it kept moving a little bit at a time. So it looks like you could really turn these down really tight. I mean, it's really tight, you know? I think it's good enough for now. I'll have to figure out the throttle linkages, have to figure out a way to get a gasket in between the throttle plate and the carburetor, engine block. We have to do the valves. I don't know. I'm not having that much fun, but it is rebuilding a Kohler Courage, which I don't even know why I'm spending so much time doing, but it's got to be done. Thanks for joining me today. I know the episode is quite long. I've been working all day. We'll see you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.
See you guys next time on Mowers and Blowers.